Hi, and welcome to Thursday Thoughts live from Studio 645 and live on YouTube this week. So it works so far much better than it did last week. Thank you for joining us today. We are going to be looking at 1 Kings chapter 18, verses 17 through 39. But first, since it is Halloween, one of my colleagues posted a fun little Halloween activity to do. So we are going to do a Halloween candy prayer tonight and reflection. So Brian's going to grab our kids' Halloween candy and not look and draw one out. Okay. Okay, so what did you get?
Laffy Taffy.
Okay, so I got a Tootsie Roll. So it says, pick out a piece of candy and ask yourself how your life is like that piece of candy. Consider the flavors, the textures, the memories that you might associate with it. So examples. Does your life feel nutty, like an Almond Joy? Is there something that you need to share with someone special, just like you can share a Kit Kat? So, how's your life like a Laffy Taffy?
Oh, I first had a couple jokes, like stupid things like, it's got a joke on the outside, my life's a joke, or it's sticky. But it's tough at times, but once you get it really worn in, it's really good. Like when you first start chewing into Laffy Taffy, it is tough, but it's still good. Tastes good.
That's good. Yeah. So I got a Tootsie Roll. I was trying to find a Reese's in there, but I have a Tootsie Roll. Tootsie Rolls are one of my favorite candies, actually, and I think the thing I associate most with Tootsie Rolls is the Knights of Columbus.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Grandpa Mickey.
Oh, yeah, my grandpa does eat Tootsie Rolls, or he used to. But I think of the Knights of Columbus and how you give money and they give you back a Tootsie Roll. And I guess a reminder to be more gracious in that, I guess, is what I would see, to give more often, and to be excited about giving and to find joy in the little things that you get back from giving. I mean, I can buy one of these for less than what I donate to the Knights of Columbus to get the Tootsie Roll. But there's just something so exciting in getting that little thing back. And so recognizing the little things we get back in giving, sometimes giving is exhausting. And we feel like all we do is give. And so trying to pause and find just the tiny little things we get back in our giving, whether it's somebody's smile or knowing somebody has a warm place to be or whatever it might be, just the little things that we end up getting from giving, I think, to take joy in those. Get up here. Come on, get up here.
She's talking to Ducky.
Sorry, the dog went.
He has to be coaxed to get on the couch. He's a little drama.
So I encourage you try. If you have children who need Halloween candy, you can raid tonight. Or if you have some leftover Halloween candy of your own, just pull one out.
And I imagine you do, as we had 8 trick-or-treaters.
8, yeah.
8.
So try that. Check it out. If you want the specifics of how to do it or what to think about, I will share those on our Facebook page. It comes from Grace Des Moines' Facebook page, Grace United Methodist Church in Des Moines. So we are just jumping ahead a few chapters in 1 Kings from last week. So we're jumping about 50 years, roughly, give or take. And it is to the time of King Ahab. And King Ahab is ruling over Israel. So last week, we talked about how the kingdom was dividing. And you had Israel and Judah. And Israel was the big part of the kingdom. It had 10 of the 12 tribes. Judah was 2 tribes, Judah and Benjamin. And Judah remains in the David lineage the entire time that it is in existence. A descendant of David rules over Judah. In Israel, that is not true at all. It is ruled by many, many different dynasties. Many, many different lineages rule over Judah, and they rule over Israel. Thank you, over Israel, and they rule for pretty short periods of time. One king rules less than a year, and so we're looking at King Ahab here, and like I said, 50 years after the kingdom is divided, and King Ahab is married to Jezebel, which is kind of a famous name. People often hear the name Jezebel. And Jezebel...
She's a figure of speech, right?
Yes. But Jezebel is worshiping another god. Baal is who Jezebel worships. And when Ahab marries Jezebel, Ahab begins building a monument for Baal in the capital city and worshiping Baal and allowing people in Israel and encouraging people in Israel to worship Baal. So now Ahab is and Israel are kind of paying for that. They have been in a drought and a famine for 3 years now. And God has now sent a prophet, Elijah, to correct Ahab and the Israelites and bring them back to God. So a prophet is a messenger of God sent to draw the people back into faithfulness. And so that's where we're picking up tonight. Do you want to read the text for us tonight?
She's trying to bite me.
Well, put her on the ground so you can read.
You go. Zoe was not being nice. Okay, so all of this.
Oh, no, sorry. You're starting in verse 17. There you go.
Okay. When Ahab saw Elijah, Ahab said to him, "It is you. Is it you, you troubler of Israel?" He answered, "I have not troubled Israel, but you have, and your father's house, because you have forsaken the commandments of the Lord and followed the Baals. Now, therefore, have all Israel assembled for me at Mount Carmel with 450 prophets of Baal and the 400 prophets of Asherah who eat at Jezebel's table." So Ahab sent to all the Israelites and assembled the prophets at Mount Carmel. Elijah then came near to all the people and said, "How long will you go limping with 2 different opinions? If the Lord is God, follow him. But if Baal, then follow him." The people did not answer him a word. Then Elijah said to the people, even I only, am left a prophet of the Lord, but Baal's prophets number 450. Let 2 bulls be given to us. Let them choose 1 bull for themselves, cut it in pieces, and lay it on the wood, but put no fire to it. I will prepare the other bull and lay it in the wood, but no fire to it. Then you call on the name of your God, and I will call on the name of the Lord. The God who answers by fire is indeed God. All people answered, "Well spoken." Then Elijah said to the prophets of Baal, "Choose for yourselves 1 bull and prepare it first, for you are many. Then call on the name of your God, but put no fire to it." So they took the bull that was given them and prepared it and called on the name of Baal from morning until noon, crying, "O Baal, answer us." But there was no voice and no answer, and they limped about the altar that they had made. At noon, Elijah mocked them, saying, "Cry aloud. Surely he is a god. Either he is meditating or has wandered
away, or he is on a journey, or perhaps he is asleep and must be awakened." Then they cried aloud and said, as was their custom, they cut themselves with swords and lances until the blood gushed out of them. As midday passed, they raved on until the time of the offering of the oblation. But there was no voice, no answer, and no response. Then Elijah said to all the people, "Come closer to me." And all the people came closer to him. First, he repaired the altar of the Lord that had been thrown down. Elijah took 12 stones, according to the number of tribes of the sons of Jacob, to whom the word of the Lord came, saying, "Israel shall be your name." With the stones, he built an altar in the name of the Lord. Then he made a trench around the altar, large enough to contain 2 measures of seed. Next, he put the wood in order, cut the bull in pieces, and laid it on the wood. He said, "Fill 4 jars with water, and pour it on the burnt offering and on the wood." Then he said, "Do it a second time." And they did it a second time. Again, he said, "Do it a third time." And they did it a third time, so that the water ran all around the altar and filled the trench also with water. At the time of the offering of the oblation, the prophet Elijah came near and said, "O Lord, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, let it be known this day that you are God of Israel, that I am your servant, and that I have done all these things at your bidding. Answer me, O Lord, answer me, so that this people may know that you, O Lord, are God, and that you have turned their hearts back." Then the fire of the Lord fell and consumed the burnt offering, the wood, the stones, and the dust, and even licked up the water that was in the trench. When all the people saw it, they fell on their faces and said, "The Lord indeed is God. The Lord indeed is God." So, any initial thoughts?
Elijah had quite the faith. I mean, that he let himself be so outnumbered, but then he soaked the altar.
Yeah.
And it just,
yeah. So
some might call it arrogance.
So Elijah was one prophet in the name of the Lord. There were 450 in the name of Baal. They were on Mount Carmel, which is the mount where Baal is worshipped. It is kind of Baal's home territory, if you will. And so it's, and then there's a bowl, which is Baal's symbol as well. So you throw in, more prophets, their home territory, and their kind of their mascot, if you want to continue the sports analogy, all of that. And yet Elijah knows, believes, has faith that his God, the true God, the Lord who is indeed God, will answer. And I think there's something to that, but I also, Elijah is kind of the fan who speaks before the game's over a little bit too, taunting the prophets of Baal. It's halftime and their God hasn't shown up yet, and Elijah lays down some smack talk on them.
Yeah, I think his intention was that insult. I mean, to really push it in, like you're gonna lose.
Yeah.
But I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah, jabs at them a little bit. One of the commentators that I listen to, commentary writers that I listen to, talked about how, imagine somebody kind of throwing one-line zingers at you, and that's what this would feel like. And I thought of Zingbot.
Big Brother. Yeah,
so I don't know how many of you watch Big Brother. Brian and I used to watch it all the time. And there's this robot that comes in, I don't know, halfway, 3/4 through the season, called Zingbot, and pokes fun at each house guest, each contestant, and kind of their thing that they're a little bit known for. So I can remember Jeff, who is one of my favorite players. They made fun of his soul patch, like, I don't know what they said, 1970, when were soul patches a thing?
1970s. They want your soul patch back.
Yeah, something like that. And so they said to imagine that's what Elijah is doing here, shooting these, one-line zingers at the prophets of Baal, and
just trying to get your goat.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
Just trying to get a reaction. Yeah. Well, Alex and I talked about this too, like a sports analogy again. It's like going in to face the returning state champs And like basketball, they have a bench of 15 deep. You just bring your starting five. None of your fans are in the stands. You bring your starting five. You sit for the first half, and then go play and beat them.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. Yeah, because he does. He gives them,
time.
Yeah, they get to start. They get to choose their bowl first. They get to start first. They start hours ahead of when Elijah starts to even build his altar and cut up his bowl and dig his trench and all of these things. So one of the things that in the very beginning in 17 it talks about is Ahab calls Elijah the troubler of Israel. What do you think about that?
He's making Ahab's life difficult.
Yeah.
Ahab is Israel.
Yes.
If he's the king, he is Israel. So you're a pain in my rear, Elijah.
Yeah, I agree with that. And Elijah is kind of that quick wit again and comes back at him and says, "No, you're the troubler." What do you think of Elijah's response there?
Again, gutsy. Like, that's the king. Like, you're dead. That's all he has to say.
So, one of the commentators that I listened to made the comment that this is not a court prophet. So Nathan, David's prophet, was a court prophet, was kind of within the court system, was very proper, and kind of operated within the society. Whereas Elijah is outside of the court system and on the outskirts and
see man in the streets.
Kind of I don't know, rogue, I guess might be a word for him. He isn't trying to draw the people back to faithfulness from being within the people. He is outside of the people, looking in and calling them out. And so he doesn't feel he needs to offer the social niceties maybe that somebody inside that system might feel called to offer.
Yeah, and I guess if he's on the outside, he's also, him and his family have been feeling like if you're in royalty, you're not going to be suffering at this point.
Yes.
You might think you're suffering, but there's food on the table, clothes on your back. Whereas if you're not in the royalty, you're on the other side, you're on the outside, the royalty is going to take care of themselves first, and then whatever's left you get. And when there's more left, you get more. When there's less left, you get less. And so, he might even be starving, him and his family and his, his neighborhood or his people might really be hurting because this famine. They had a famine for how many years? 3 years?
3 years in, yeah.
Think about it. We don't raise one crop in a year, and people are, if they're living paycheck to paycheck, they have so many loans on their land and equipment. You miss 1 year, you're hurting, especially without crop insurance and stuff. So
yeah. Well, and the famine a little bit might be why people are maybe struggling to know who they're worshiping, because the people are worshiping Baal or they're worshiping the Lord, or they're kind of going back and forth a little bit.
And neither's answering.
But I think Baal, as the god of the storm, the god images, iconography of Baal, has Baal with a lightning bolt in one hand and a drum under his arm, lightning and thunder. He's the god of the storm. And so are they worshiping him partly because they're just so desperate for rain? But at the same time, is that just a distraction pulling them away from God? It's an idol. And I think there are many things in our lives that act as distractions. Perhaps it's not an actual other God today, but there are many things that distract us from God, or that we put our time and energy into because we feel desperate, or we feel like we can trust in it more than we can trust in God. So what is something that pulls you away from God, that distracts you from having God at the center of your life?
Striving to have my expectations come to fruition.
Okay, explain that a little.
Like Alex and I talked about this. Like when I come home from work, I've been gone all day. Alex and Nookie and Zoe meet me at the door. They're excited to see me. And I get home and the kids don't do that. And, all the way home, I've been excited to get home and see you all. And I got 3 of 5. But not missing those 2 hurts. And that hurts my relationship. Like I get mad at them. Whereas I could just go play with them and we would be fine, and which that's my relationship with them. So that's my relation. I guess that's, to me, that's God. And
Yeah.
Expectations.
Well, and I think other expectations probably do as well. This is the way we imagined it was going to be, and it didn't turn out that way, and we struggle to deal with when it doesn't turn out that way, or struggle to let go of the what we pictured and live into the what is in front of us, or even struggle to let go of the way it's always been. That's our expectation. This is the way it's always been. And it's not that way anymore. We can't seem to let go of that expectation in order to live into the here and the now of what God is calling us to.
Yep. Do you have one?
I have lots. I think one of the things that distracts me, that pulls me away from God, is my desire to have control.
We just talked about that yesterday.
Yeah, we did. I like to plan.
Type A.
Yeah, hardcore. I'm a planner, and I like to know what's going on, and I like to have details figured out. And going with the flow is not my strong suit. And I think sometimes I'm so focused on the plan and on making sure the details are worked out, or figuring out what's happening, or so just stressed out about making sure it goes right, that I miss out on the God in the moment. And so I think control is a big one for me. Yeah. Here's a little. Our youth answered this question last night at youth group. And so we're going to be posting a video of 4 of our youth answering that question. And their answers were so amazing. And I really appreciated them sharing it. So be looking on our Facebook and our YouTube channel, probably tomorrow, maybe Saturday, for that video of our youth. So tomorrow, in just a few hours, is my favorite church holiday, Christian holiday. It is All Saints Day. November 1st every year is All Saints Day. It is All Hallows Eve right now, and it's All Saints Day tomorrow. And I really like this text in the narrative lectionary being placed for All Saints Day, because what Elijah's job is to pull people back to God, to pull them into faithfulness to God. That is what a prophet does. And I think that's what a saint does as well. A saint helps us to be faithful to God, helps us to grow in our faith and in our relationship with God. And so Elijah is a saint to Ahab and the Israelites in this time. And I'm wondering who is a saint in your life, whether that saint is living or deceased. Who's somebody who's helped you return to faithfulness, or stay faithful, or grow in your faith? You don't have to know the person either. I'm going to put that out there this time. You don't have to personally know them.
I just think about I think about a couple of youth that are just kind of questioning their faith, or friends that are questioning their faith, and that just makes me examine my own. So anyone that does that, like to me, it just makes me really think about, be able to defend my own faith, um,
So
and better
those,
understand.
maybe those who push you a little bit
Yeah.
then.
If everyone agrees with you all the time, you're not going to learn anything new.
That's a good answer. I think that's really true.
Who's yours?
I told the youth they could only, we did this at youth group too, and I told them you can choose one person, only one person, and that's really hard now that I said that, to think of only.
Well, I didn't do one person.
I know you didn't.
I did a type of person.
You did a type of person, yes.
But I have one person in mind, but
oh goodness, this is so hard. I would say I don't know. I would say, and this is bad. I can't even think of names right now. I would say the women who do the Pantsuit Politics podcast, which is terrible because I can't think of their names right now. But they also wrote a book, and it's called "I Think You're Wrong, But I'm Still Listening." And in this book, it's all about how to have a conversation with somebody you disagree with and to really hear them, not to have a debate or an argument, but to have a conversation with them. But an aside in the book, kind of just a little anecdote in the book, is about one of their struggles with road rage. And so instead of yelling or freaking out or honking her horn or whatever, she says, "Drive safe, friend." And I started adapting that in my own driving because I get a little road ragey. But I've also started putting it in other parts of my life as well. Instead of being irritated or short tempered, I try and just simply say, "Drive safe, friend." And I think that they have really drawn me into a greater faithfulness to God of offering that grace, because "Drive safe, friend" is an honest prayer and an offering of grace to another human being. And so I'm gonna say the women of Pantsuit Politics. Yeah.
I think we need to start saying that to our daughter when she screams, "Don't tell me." She's putting on the thing about
There
you.
you go.
Drive safe, friends.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna get
Drive safe, friend. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining us, whether it's live right now. I think that 2 up top means we have a couple of viewers right now, or whether it is going to be tomorrow or in the coming days as you watch this. I want to thank Bryan for being willing to do this again, so that we could actually be live on YouTube. And I encourage you to share this video with a friend. It is a public video, so you can tell people about our YouTube channel. You can share the link with them, and they can follow along in the narrative lectionary with us through our Thursday thoughts, even if they're not in Jessup to worship with us on Sundays. Do you have any closing thoughts, comments?
I think so.
Just ready for bed. It's 9:30. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, and we will see you Sunday. Don't forget to check out our YouTube channel tomorrow or Saturday for that video of the youth. The other thing that I encourage you to do is name your saint in our comment section. Tell us about the saint who has helped you be more faithful. Let's honor them and share them and offer thanksgiving to God for them. Have a great All Hallows Eve and a wonderful All Saints Day.